Welcome to the Business of Dance podcast, where you'll learn what it takes to create your dream professional dance career.
Join us as we dive into the insights and experiences of the world's top dance industry professionals, including dancers, choreographers, agents, casting directors, educators, and other dance industry experts.
We explore a diverse range of topics, from personal development and mental skills to audition techniques, creating meaningful industry connections, social media marketing, seeking out dance agents and casting opportunities, on-the-job etiquette, talent unions, pitching to the media, health, finances, and so much more.
Here is your host, Menina Fortunato.
So I'm super excited about today's guest. She is a dancer originally from Vancouver in Canada, currently residing in Los Angeles. For any Vancouverites, she grew up in Langley, BC, if you know where that is. She attended the Fine Arts High School, where she majored in modern dance and musical theater. Now, after graduating high school, she got signed to DaCosta Talent and worked on several TV and film productions in Vancouver. And in 2014, she finally got her O1 visa to move to the US, and she's currently signed with Block Talent Agency. And as a dancer, she has toured the world with Maluma on his world tour. She's appeared on Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies, Riverdale, Disney's Freaky Friday, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Lucifer, DC Legends of Tomorrow, Nickelodeon's Rags, Disney Girls versus a Monster, Brave Town, and Lifetime Britney Ever After. She's done commercials for Mountain Dew, L'Oreal Paris, Kohl's, Lee Jeans. She's also worked with several recording artists, Ariana Grande, Jennifer Lopez, French Montana, Jesse McCartney, Michael Bublé, and she's also worked for Sports Check and MAC Cosmetics, American Horror Story, and New Balance. She is also on faculty with Millennium Dance Complex in Orange County. Without further ado, let's give some virtual love to Miss Jessa Dahl. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
So happy to have you here. Now, fun story, which I didn't share in the intro for dancers that are listening. Jessa and I go way back. So she was actually, I think the first, did I meet you? I'm trying to figure out when I met you. Was it, I think, a workshop that I may have taught in Vancouver? And then I scouted you for a Hollywood Summer Tour scholarship. She did the Hollywood Summer Tour 2010, I believe, because I was pregnant with baby number one. Mm-hmm. Jordan Satachi music video. Totally remember. She was the lead girl in the video. And then I remember I lived in Vancouver temporarily to have baby number one, and she assisted me at Harbor Dance Center for many classes back then. And then she did her thing and moved to Los Angeles, living out her dreams. So I think that's just really special for me because she was once sitting in your shoes. She was once that competition kid. She was once that dancer, especially if you're a foreign dancer, that always dreamed of moving to the US, specifically in her case, Los Angeles, and she did it. So that's huge. So I'm so proud of you and so happy to bring you on here. Let's start at the beginning. Let's go back to the early years. Actually, the beginning that I don't even know. When did you start dancing and what did that look like? What was life growing up as a dancer?
Mm-hmm. So I started a little bit later. I didn't start when I was like 3 or 4. I was really into musical theater growing up, a little bit more into the acting side of things. And I wanted to join this like big musical theater troupe. And the only way I could do that is if I had some dance training. So my mom put me into like a beginner, I think it was, honestly, I don't remember if it was jazz or hip hop, but just like a studio just to get that basic training. And then I slowly started to fall in love with that. And that was when I was, I think, 9 years old. And so I just did really basic classes at the beginning because it was more about musical theater and acting and singing. And then I slowly just started falling in love with that more. And then my parents had put me on the list, the waiting list for the Langley Fine Arts High School. And it was to enter in originally in art as an art major because I was really creative. I think I did that for a year. I joined fine arts in grade 7. I did that for a year or 2. And then I switched over to a dance major. And that's when I fully was diving into that a lot more. And then I did the Fine Arts High School from grade 7 to grade 12. modern major, but then I also did musical theater tons. I still had a love for that. And then I was with affinity dance growing up as well. So I would have dance all day at school. I would have all my electives after school morning. I would get there early and then I would go to dance all night and do different styles. I was very much not the best at my studio whatsoever. I had all the passion in the world, but I could not kick my leg. I could not turn. Had the worst flexibility ever, but I just loved it so much. And I feel like my passion always got me noticed. I was really lucky that granted me more opportunities to go to more workshops, more conventions, because I would get scholarships. And I was really grateful because my passion was always celebrated. And it was never like, you're behind, you're not as strong as the other dancers. Let's celebrate you and what you're strong at. So
I love that you shared that you weren't the best dancer growing up, because I think a lot of dancers can relate to that. I know I can. And I think that's also a testament to show that even despite maybe you didn't have the most amazing technique that all these competition kids had growing up, you still made a career for yourself. You still are playing at the top of your field and the top of your game. So that is inspiring, I think, for a lot of young dancers that might feel inadequate. They might feel like, I'm not quite the best dancer. I'm not getting all the top awards. I'm not, on the flexibility. I totally get it. But also goes to prove that's not the end all be all to be successful either. So let's fast forward a little bit. So you're fully immersed into dance, growing up in the Vancouver area. What was the transition like taking that big leap? Because you did HST in 2010, but you didn't do the move. You did the move 4 years later. So what was happening during that phase, and how did you actually take the big bold leap and go?
Yeah, absolutely. So in grade 11 and grade 12, I joined the Source Dance Company. So I was doing school and then I would SkyTrain into the city and then do my Source classes and join that company. And then in addition to that, during the summertime, I would take little trips to LA, and my parents were always so supportive and they were just like really okay with me being independent, and they really encouraged that. So I would spend 2 months at a time, probably in LA in the summertime, and I would be in like a sort of housing situation, and I would just train and try and make networks that way and see if I really liked being there, because it's different visiting than it is living there. So you can visit for 1 week, but it's going to be a completely different story when you move there. So I just wanted to get a good grasp on that, make sure that one, I felt safe, that there was like good people around me, and that it was really something I wanted to do, because visa process is really difficult and it's expensive. So you don't want to just do it just because. So I did that kind of for 2 years, where I went back and forth a lot, trying to strengthen my network, and then also working in Canada a lot, because you have to have that strong resume to even apply for your visa. Those 4 years was really just building everything. The very first time I met with someone to talk about applying for my visa, the lawyer said, no, I'm sorry, it's not strong enough, and you got to go away and work on it some more. And so I did that for another year. I got some more projects under my belt. And then I went to someone different who like believed in me a little bit more, but I didn't let that one lawyer shoot my dream down. I just knew I had to go back, strengthen my package, and then try again.
Beautiful. And if you don't mind sharing, what was the golden ticket? Who was your petitioner, or were there multiple deal memos that you had in place? What was it that it took to get sufficient evidence, as well as the right sponsor? If you can kind of almost explain that to dancers that might not understand what we're talking about.
Totally. Yeah. So you have to have pretty much someone that is like ready to hire you when you get to LA. And Menina was actually someone who, she supported me and she helped me with my visa, it was my first visa. So I just am like forever grateful for Menina, because that's the reason why I'm in LA. So Menina was huge on that list. And then I also, I think I booked a movie that's what it was, with Brian Friedman in Winnipeg. I had the agency, I had some dance jobs, I had the deal memos, but I just needed a little bit more oomph. I got an additional deal memo. And then I booked this movie from this audition in Vancouver, or sorry, the audition was in LA, and I wasn't actually supposed to maybe be at it. I wasn't on the list originally because I wasn't living in LA at that moment, but it was working in Canada. So I was allowed to attend. I just wasn't on the list. So this is actually a funny story. So I got into the audition. My LA agency was like, you can go to this audition. So I went, and it was with Brian Friedman, and Tucker Barkley was assisting it, and did the audition. I felt strong at it. I felt good. And then later that night, I was at Carnival, and one of the dancers who was at the audition with me, she said, "Hey, did you send in all your, what was it? I think they were asking for your driver's license, like to prove that you were like a Canadian, like resident."
Local. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a local. And I said, no, I didn't even get told, but I wasn't even on that original list. So I don't think there was anyone to tell me about that. And she's like, yeah, everyone had to send in like evidence that they lived in Canada. And I was freaking out because I was like, how do I get this to them? I want this job. And I reached out to my LA agency, who wasn't like officially my agent yet because I didn't have my deal memo. And I said, hey, is there any way you can reach out to Brian? This is what I've heard, or his team. This is what I've heard at Carnival, I was in the bathroom at Carnival, and just chit-chatting. And I'm like, hey, can you reach out? And she's like, absolutely. And so she reached out, she sent my documents. And then because of that, I booked the job. If I hadn't reached out, I probably wouldn't have booked that job.
That's amazing.
Just from like going to an event, like chit-chatting, it all kind of added up. And that was, I think, the cherry on top for me getting the visa.
Amazing. And was that Rags that you're the project?
No, it was Brave Town.
Oh, okay.
So we were like high school dance teams. And yeah, it was really fun. And that was like my first time really working with a big LA choreographer too. And I was so nervous because it's Brian Freeman, and he's just like a legend. And I remember specifically in the rehearsal too, our team he wanted us to do some like illusions and start in the splits and stuff like that. And my body just didn't allow me to do that. And I had just trained. So if I could pay $1 million to do the splits, I would. And I just didn't do it, So I remember he wanted us to start in the splits in the routine. And I just had to be like, I'm so sorry, but I just don't think I can do that, but I can do this or I can do that. And he was like, no, it's okay. We'll have you do an illusion instead. And I just remembered I'm like, that's also a little bit.
You're like, can't do that either.
So I felt incredibly insecure, but I was also trying to be like a smart dancer and professional in the room, being like, I'll show it to you and do my best, but we'll see. And I feel like because I was trying and I was really like warm about it and open, he was so kind with me back, and he definitely pushed me to try, but it just wasn't working. So he did some other things with the group, but yeah. Anyway, so that's that.
Was the illusion even in the choreography when you actually did the project?
No, because I couldn't do it.
Oh,
I think he had another girl do it.
but you didn't have to do it, is my point.
I didn't have to do it. And honestly,
Okay, cool.
I tried to do the illusion, and he's like, you just got to swing your leg up there. And he like went like this, and I like pulled it a little bit, and it was okay. But it was at the beginning of the month when we started. So I was just putting icy hot on it for the rest of the month.
Oh, no.
But it was okay because he didn't know, and it was just sore, and I was just so happy to be there. So it didn't even matter.
I'm glad you got through it.
Yeah.
So let's take us to the transition from, okay, so you got the work visa, you got the agent, you've made some connections, you moved to LA.
Yeah.
Then what? Paint us a picture of what it was like moving there. How was it in the beginning? Any rough patches? Any beginner wins? What happened?
I still love LA. I love LA so much. It's very exhilarating. It feels honestly like the movies. Your car is packed with your headshots, your resume, like your dance shoes. And everything was so much cheaper also when I first moved to LA. So you were able to have roommates, and everything was just so much cheaper to do. But the first couple months, I was just training tons. I was a work study at Movement Lifestyle, and that was really beneficial. That really helped me to take classes for free and also meet new people, and also meet like great choreographers that would come into the studio. And they were just so kind and so lovely. And I just took every class I could take. I feel like I did book a few things when I first moved there that were kind of bigger, but they were from my own network of teachers I would take class from. I remember I had one teacher being like, texting me being like, Jessa, you got to take your Instagram off private right now. Like this person who's a big choreographer, this person is trying to look at your profile right now and he can't because it's private. So you got to like fix that. And it was just things I just didn't know moving to LA. And so I didn't even know your Instagram was important. So I booked a few jobs here and there, but I would say within the first 4 years, it was really tough for me. I booked a few things, but it was as a whole a little bit rocky, and it just got tougher and tougher. I feel like even though I had great connections, even though you have great networks, you have to make sure that you're at the top of that network, because even though you're on the list of blondes that someone likes, if you're at number 5 of the blondes, you're probably not going to work with them until 1, 2, 3, 4 are busy. So I think that's what I always really struggled with, was that I had this great network and great, like genuine connections too, because I never wanted to schmooze my way to the top. I was very big on, even if it takes a little bit longer, I want everything to be authentic and genuine, but still there was people ahead of me. So that's what I struggled with. And then I think it got to the 4th year and I just was really struggling. I was so hard on myself. I was such a big perfectionist. I would start creating like these huge ultimatums in my head, being like, if you don't get pulled out in class, then you're not going to book a job with that teacher, and then you can't pay your rent. And so it just became like in this like unhealthy mindset. And I would go to classes and leave just bawling my eyes out. And I was also really hard on my body image, because I felt like when I first moved to LA, I didn't even know like cardio was important, or like working out. I don't know. It was just like everyone was a certain body type when I first moved there. And thank goodness, everything's a lot more inclusive now. But I feel like I worked so hard to like lose weight when I first got to LA. And then once I got there and I lost the weight, it was like, then they wanted like more curvy girls. And I just felt like I could never win. So I was just in a place where I was a perfectionist. I was so hard on myself. I wasn't really getting work, like too much work. And I just was at my breaking point. So I did move back home at one point. I think that was my 4th year into LA. I think I ran out of money and I just was like, I am not healthy and I have to take a step back. So I moved back home to Vancouver and I spent, I think it was 4 months, and I just did a lot of teaching at studios, and I still had, I think it was a year left on my visa. And I kind of, after a couple months, got myself into a healthier headspace. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to go finish out that last year and see if that will take me to that whole next level in LA. And I was like, I'm going to do this. And I changed my hair color and I just went in with a new attitude. And then right away I packed up my car. I went back. I booked VMAs. I booked tour. I booked like a JLo music video. It was all boom within 4 months of just making that change and deciding and changing my hair color, going back, different attitude, that it like completely 180'd everything.
I love that thank you so much for being vulnerable and being honest about your journey, because the theme that I'm hearing is your mindset was not in the right place, which really affected your success level. And you had to regroup, and good for you. You went home, get your mind right and get your mind clear before you're ready to go back at it again. And that is a big thing that I would really want dancers to really understand, that your mindset is so important. As much as we take care of our bodies, it's also important to take care of our mind, because clearly you were dealing with some mental struggles. The fact that you felt like you needed to lose weight, you didn't need to lose weight. You were perfect the way you were. The fact that you felt like you had to live up to a certain standard, or you're feeling like you were inadequate and not good enough. But that is so important, like your self-worth, your understanding your value, understanding that you are perfect the way you are, and that also making sure that you're in a healthy mind space, because that clearly affected you, because you were always beautiful, you were always talented, but clearly in your mind, you didn't feel good enough. You didn't feel adequate enough. And you probably played the comparative game of, I see that girl, I'm not like them, and I'm not like her. And when you just really just owned it and be like, this is me. And then clearly, and also the other theme that I'm hearing is you felt discouraged and you almost quit on yourself.
Mm.
But then there you just pushed just a little bit more, that little extra inch. You got a little reset. You went back home, made some money, and you went back with a fresh outlook, a fresh look, a fresh vibe, and then boom, all these gigs just start. Like, what would have happened if you literally just quit then? You were that close. You probably would have felt defeated and felt discouraged and felt like a failure. But then you went back and then booking all these amazing dream jobs. So fast forward, take us back to, you moved back to LA, you got a fresh new look, you got a whole new vibe, you're in a better state of mind, you start booking all these jobs. So let's talk about some of these big jobs that you've had. What are maybe some of your favorites, some of the highlights?
My favorite job was absolutely the VMAs with Ariana Grande. And I think that was because it was my first big job, but I had also never been to New York. And it was with my favorite choreographers. I had done some skeleton crewing with them over the years and had just trained with them a lot, which was Brian and Scott Nicholson. And it was just such like a joy and an honor to be a part of that, because I felt like it was something I had worked really hard for, but also I felt like it was really in alignment with who I was and like the type of style I liked. And just being in New York for that, I think it was 10 days I was there for. And I said I would work as a local as well. And not ever being to New York, it was very much, and it was a very last minute job. I think I had to get on a flight in 2 days. And then I just had to I had to change hotels every 3-4 days, just because you had to change based off of rates for the hotels, things like that. And I knew I probably wouldn't make money from the project because I was putting myself up and all that. But it just didn't even matter because she was one of my dream artists. The choreographers were so special to me. And yeah, that was just like a beautiful experience. And I remember being on stage and my opposite at the table was Jessica Castro. And that was huge for me too, because she's so well respected and just amazing. And I just remember Brian saying to everyone, you could hear their voice like in the wings saying, everyone, this is what you've worked so hard for. And then it was like, boom, like the music started and everything. And it just felt like such a moment, which was very cool. And then after that, and what's so crazy is at that VMAs, Maluma was also performing. And I remember we watched the sound check and everything. And I had just visited Mexico to visit my friend there. And my friend was like a big Maluma fan. And so I heard about him for the first time over in Mexico. And then I did VMAs and then he was performing there. I'm like, oh, this is that guy that my friend loves so much. I'm like, oh yeah, he's fantastic. And then fast forward, I think it was maybe 4 months. And then I was on tour with him, which was probably another dream job. That was like my biggest job. And that was one of my favorites as well, because we got to travel the world. I was on big arena stages, stadium stages, and it was crazy. It was a crazy experience. And it was like 4 years long. So it was a good chunk of time.
That was a 4-year tour?
Yeah, like 3-4 years, because I did 2 different tours back to back with him. There was like the pandemic sprinkled in there, but then he also started just touring like during the pandemic as well. So that was like an amazing experience.
That's amazing. I had a similar experience with Maluma. I worked with him too on the Latin American Music Awards, and I didn't know who he was.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, who am I dancing with? Maluma? And then when I realized, like, if anybody is not familiar with Maluma, he is like a massive in the Latin American market. Like he's like today's version of what Ricky Martin was, like whatever, 20 years ago. But yeah, I had the same thing. I didn't even know who he was until I actually worked with him, and I didn't realize how big he was until I looked him up, and I was like, oh, it's I was so proud of you when I saw you book that tour. I was like, that's amazing. Like that is, a huge artist, huge production. Looks like you were living your best life. And I love that for you. Any other cool jobs that were like highlight aha moments, like moments?
There's like a few that stand out because of working with the people you're surrounded by. I really loved any Heather Laura Gray project I've done in Vancouver. It's like one of my favorites because I think she's just like such a boss lady and she knows exactly what she wants. And she creates an atmosphere that's just, I don't know. I just love her to bits and pieces. And so I was a dance double for the actress portraying Britney for Britney Ever After. That was really cool to work with Heather in that way as like a dance double because I've never done anything like that before. And so that project was really, really cool. And then I also did Riverdale with her, which was also, I always leave Heather's projects being like, I love Heather Gray. What else have I really liked? I've done some music videos as like a choreographer out here in LA over the past 2 years that have been really fulfilling because it's taught me that I know where I want to go as my career progresses, and like also surprising myself with like my creative ability, I think has been cool for me and fulfilling.
So is that, I'm hearing, is choreography now the next focus? Is that where you want your career to move to?
Definitely. I like dabbling in it. I still want to dance and be on these big professional projects, but I love like movement coaching, specifically like upcoming artists. I think it's really cool. And I think also my musical theater geeky side comes out where I'm like, I feel like not that I feel like the pop star, but I feel like I can help them. And I like just seeing their growth and seeing them so excited when they can move a little bit stronger and seeing their growth. And I don't know, I love movement coaching. I think it's great. It's a very cool world that I was never really taught about. So I think that I'm like recognizing and realizing it over the past couple of years. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I love this.
Can you explain to the dancers that don't know what is a movement coach?
Yes.
What does that look like? What does that entail?
Yeah. So movement coaching is pretty much, so you have like an artist and they want to be able to like move with a microphone, or maybe they have a dance break, or they need staging, or they want to work with the mic stand, because things like that are not always necessarily taught to artists. So they don't always know about it. And sometimes they're just so scared and so stiff on the mic stand. And it's all about bringing confidence out and making them feel like really empowered on stage and not like shy. Yeah, you're just teaching them grooves, staging, different energy, performance techniques. I had a singing teacher growing up who was really big on like energies and like using colors and imagery and stuff like that to perform your best on stage. So I feel like I used that a lot when I was on Maluma. And then I like to also teach other artists that to hopefully help them on stage.
That's so much fun. Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because you think that a singer would know how to perform and how to use their bodies, but it's surprisingly, a lot of singers are not taught that. They have beautiful voices. They don't know what to do in a live performance setting. They don't know what to do with their bodies, and then who better than someone that has a dance background to show them?
Exactly.
And then even tell them a little bit about, you said, just to go back, the Britney Ever After, to explain to them, what is a dance double? What did that look like?
Yeah. The actress was lovely, lovely girl. She had the perfect like Britney aesthetic for that movie, but she didn't necessarily have the dance training that like Britney Spears does. That's where I came in. I had to do a self-tape for it, and I had to wear something that was similar to what Britney would wear. And I had to learn like a little snippet out of one of her live performances. And then I just sent in that self-tape. And it's really important when you do dance double work that your specs match like pretty like to the T with the actress that you're portraying or that you're helping out. So we had the same specs, and yeah, it was great because I felt like I got to work with Heather a little bit more closely and also with the actress. So I felt like a little bit more involved in the project. And when you're on set and like performing to camera, your face is never seen. That's like the main thing, right? They just want you there for the body and the movement. So it's just like a lot of hair and a lot of like spacing away from camera, and also like movie magic, right? Where they're making all those crazy cuts and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely different than being a dancer, because you also have to recognize I'm not going to be this like 400% full out like crazy dancer. You still have to mesh well with the actress that you're working with.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had one experience of that. I was Jennifer Garner's dance double on Alias, and having to always look away from camera was always hard because I'm like, I want to look at the camera. No, I got to look away because I got to look like Jennifer Garner right now.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. It's a different skill to be someone's double, like where you're constantly trying to hide your face in a creative way, but so they can capture your movement because you have to be them. So you got to be Britney Spears, but nobody got to see your face.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you see Britney Ever After and you see all that cool dancing, it's her. It's very cool. I could talk to you so much more, but I want to give our Business of Dance mentees an opportunity to ask you questions. So who do we have here? Biagan.
Hi, I'm Biagan from Sacramento. I just started pursuing dance professionally. And I had a question about when you mentioned that you were getting those 4 months of just like back to back bookings and jobs. I was wondering, how are you taking care of yourself physically and mentally after those like really long days?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question because also, as I get older, I realize how important it is to take care of yourself when you're on jobs and making sure you just don't get back to that kind of dark space. So I think during that time, I was definitely surrounding myself with friends a lot. I was being in classes more that inspired me necessarily that, or more than that were really tough on me. Because I have a tendency of going into tons of classes that are so tough and they're like, boom, boom, boom. There's all these things you need to work on, but you also need to be in classes that you feel inspired and you feel good at. You need a good mixture. So during that time when things were going really well, I think I was surrounded by great friends, great family, really having a normal life, but also training in classes that were hard, but also made me feel good. I think eating really healthy, having different outlets. Like I love yoga, I love hiking. So different exercise outlets and also outlets that have nothing to do with dance because it's so easy just to get dance mindset. And you're never going to perform your best if you're just like absolutely tunnel vision. You need to have other things that inspire you and that make you a human being. Yeah. And I think also desperation is read from like a mile away. So if you're just like so dance obsessed, someone's going to be like, it's too much. You need to relax and breathe and surrender and just go with the flow a little bit at times. And I feel like during that time, I really tried to, honestly, it's easier to be in a positive mindset when you're booking things, right? But I think those things helped me as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Biagan. All right, Summer, you up next.
Hi, my name is Summer Salos and I'm 20 and I would like to move to LA one day. That's a big goal of mine. So I was just curious about the movement coaching aspect of your career. How did you get into that? And are you able to do it in addition to being a professional dancer and choreographer?
Mm-hmm. Good questions. That is a funny story. When I first moved to LA, I was on dating apps and then there was someone I had matched with on a dating app and they had said to me, we never went on a date, but he said, hey, one of my friends is looking for a dancer. Would you be interested? And I was new to LA. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. Absolutely. And then I started working with the artist and she had a choreographer at the time and she ended up by like stopping using them. And then I shot my shot and I just said, hey, if you need a choreographer, I would love to do that for you. And it was through her and her team over the years that I dabbled in it a little bit more and learned it in a really safe space because the team already knew me as a dancer. So it was kind of, and because she was more upcoming, I could find my way within that role. And then just as time has gone on and I've gained more experience, I've met different teams. They've trusted my vision. I have more things in my portfolio to show. Like I've done this music video, this live performance. And so that's where I get naturally more clients from. Yeah. And you can definitely do that as a dancer and choreographer in LA. It's a nice avenue to go into. That's different.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Next up, we have Mackenzie.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie John. And my question is there anything that you wish you would have done if you were doing it right now? So like anything like that you regret or wish you would have done differently?
I've always been someone that's really, I kind of like to do what I want. And so I do feel like I'm really happy with my career because I feel like each day I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. So I feel really content with my path and I am where I am because of the steps I've taken. I did definitely some training programs and mentorships and things like that. I wish I had done more because I think that's where you can really connect with a mentor or a choreographer in like an intimate setting and they get to know you and you get to just learn what they like and learn from them. And it's really invaluable. Yeah. I wish I had just done a little bit more programs. I think that would be great. I did Rhapsody James program in LA, which was incredible. I did Ed and Shabtides in LA as well. And that was amazing. But I wish I had done Galen Fox or a few other ones. I think just giving myself a little bit more grace along the way and not being so hard on myself, because that is just huge. If you cannot create a space where it's okay to like mess up or not be your best, then it's going to be a really like tough road for you. And then one more thing is I would go to every event that you possibly can. If you get asked to go to a gathering, but you don't know anyone and you're a little bit nervous to go because I don't really know people at this party or at this dinner, just go, because it's those events that you're going to make more genuine relationships than just being at the studio. You need to connect with people at the human being level. So I think just being around is so important.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mackenzie. Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of value there with the importance of making relationships. I think you keep mentioning that, and it's incredibly valuable that even at the moment where you're like, let's go to someone's barbecue, and you're like, I don't really feel like going, but you don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know who you're going to really connect with. And it could be in this casual conversation, literally in someone's backyard at a barbecue, where it's like, hey, I got this project. Are you available for blah, blah, blah? And before you know it, that barbecue turned into an audition for you and you didn't even realize it.
1000%. And I was on a J-Lo music video and I made friends with this one girl on set. And I don't know, I was just warm and friendly with her. We were chit-chatting. And then fast forward, I think it was 2 days later, she messaged me and she said, hey, she had worked with Lorianne Gibson, and Lorianne Gibson was like #1 on my choreographer list. I wanted to work with her so bad. And she goes, hey, I work with Lorianne Gibson. She's looking for another dancer for a French Montana music video. Can you send a body shot to me? And then I sent it to her, and then I got booked on it just from chatting with this girl on set. So it's really so important to just be a kind person and be nice to everyone. It's
absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's not just like you mentioned, you dreamed of working with certain choreographers, but it's not always just with them that is important. It's their circle too. And their circle involves their assistants and the dancers that they work with, because easily as a choreographer might be like, oh, I need one more dancer and she's got to be brunette. She's got to be this height. And then the other dancer in the room is, oh, I know this girl, Jessa. She's amazing. I just met her last week, blah, blah, blah. Send me her Instagram. And then before you know it, you're getting referred because you just made friends with somebody that is friends with some choreographer or director or whatnot. When your reputation follows you. So being kind is a very common message that we hear from a lot of our guests, is just being a kind human being, because that definitely goes a long way. I love that. It's all right. Biagan, you're up next.
So my next question is, what do you want to see more from other dancers, either as like a person in the community, just another dancer on the project, or even as a choreographer, since you mentioned that you started doing that nowadays?
Oh, great question. I think I love dancers that are really warm and open. I think energy exchange is so important. And I know when I teach my classes, I can definitely tell there's a difference between dancers that are so like intense and focused and the ones that work extremely hard as well, but they're more open and they're like engaging with the choreographer. And I think that's really important for dancers to be, is just open and smiley. And it doesn't have to be fake, but it just has to create this open atmosphere and energy. I think that could be just having more fun in your training and things like that. I'd love to see that from dancers a little bit more.
Thank you.
Beautiful. All right. Next up, Summer.
Hi. I just had a question about the process of getting signed by an agent. So how was that process for you? And did you end up switching agencies, or do you have to, since you have dual citizenship?
So I have an O1 visa. So I wish I had dual citizenship.
You'll get there. You'll get there. You'll get there.
So for my Canadian agency, I was lucky. I've been signed for a while. I definitely have been always someone that's been a little bit persistent and a little bit like, I'm always going to shoot my shot, but I also know the time and space that's appropriate. And I think that's also goes back to the last question. I think some dancers can be a little bit not self-aware. And I think that dancers need to be a little more self-aware with their communications with people. I love to shoot my shot. I believe, I'm like trying to think back because it's been a while, but I know with the Costa, with Melissa Panton, I was like, hi, my name is Jessa. I would love to be signed with the agency. And I was very like, whenever I saw her at conventions, I was like, hi, Melissa, it's Jessa again, And I think it was cute because I was younger and it showed my drive. So that's how that kind of happened with my Canadian agency. Is I put in the time, I was in the classes, I was in the conventions, I was making an effort to like communicate with her, and she could see that I really wanted it, but I was also always very professional. And then with my LA agencies, I was referred into MSA originally. I was referred by Kyle Hanagami, which I was so thankful for. I did still have to go to the audition to prove that I could dance. They saw me at the audition and then they signed me. And then I was there for a couple of years. And then I switched to a block agency. I just felt like they were a little bit of a better fit for me at the time. And it was during that time when I was approaching everything with a new vibe and a new energy. So I think naturally with that came the agency change as well. And that was with a referral as well.
So the referral is the theme, and persistence as well. It sounds like beautiful. What are some of the biggest learning lessons? Looking back and reflecting, we've taken you on memory lane today. Mm-hmm. Looking back on your journey, what are some of the greatest lessons that you've learned along the way?
Mm-hmm. I think one, give myself grace, give yourself grace. Resilience is key. You're going to hear a million no's. I promise you, I'm still hearing no's all the time. But all it takes is for one person it's what Lady Gaga says, all you need is that one person to like believe in you. And you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. You're going to have some people that are like, you need this. And then there's going to be some people that are like, you're exactly what I want and you're perfect the way you are. Yeah. So I think give yourself grace, resilience, shoot your shot too. I know I just said that, but it really is so important because you have to be your biggest advocate at times. If you don't make that email, make that call, send that extra message, it only falls so much on your agent. You have to be that person too for yourself.
Absolutely. Before we wrap things up, if you want to share a little plug, how can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Absolutely. So my Instagram is @JessicaDoll. My movement coaching profile is @DollInMotion. And yeah, you can always message me on there. I'm so open to like connecting with new dancers. And if you ever have a question for me, I'd love to help if I can. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
I love that. And your Instagram is not private anymore, right? It's
not private anymore. And you know what? I will say this. There are a lot of weirdos out there. So just be like careful. That's why it was on private for so long. And I think just creating a safe space and like a professional resume for yourself online. So what you're putting out there, professional.
Absolutely.
And Menina knows about that.
we talk about it. Instagram is one of their homework assignments. So they all have to set up their Instagram a certain way. I mean, they do all the social media platforms, but Instagram is really become like it's the online resume. All the agents that we've been talking to all say the same thing, that even casting directors, that aside from whatever casting profile that you may have up, they're looking at your Instagram before they make their decision.
It's everything. It's everything. And if someone says that it's not, then it's, I'm sorry, you're wrong.
Yeah, no, Instagram, even for my own business, I'm no longer auditioning like you are anymore. But even when people are vetting me, they're like, who is this Menina girl? They go right to the Instagram and then they creep on my stuff. And then, oh, okay, she's legit. But the same applies for working dancers as well. But on behalf of the business of dance, we want to give you some love, lots of hearts. Thank you so much. And I am just so proud of you to see your journey from the teen dancer, which many of these dancers are exactly where you once were, and hungry. You were always so hungry. I just remember like even 2010, I remember after assisting a class, I think at Harbor Dance Center, and you were frustrated with a few things and you were like, what can I do to make this happen? What can I do to be better? What can I do? Like you were always open and hungry and wanting to learn and wanting to grow. And it's just so beautiful to see that you've done it. It hasn't been perfect. And it's going to be bumpy, and it's still going to be bumpy no matter what stage you're at. Life is hard. Life will always be hard, but choose your hard. if it's going to be hard, let it be hard while you're pursuing your dreams. And the next chapter, I wish you all the best. Movement coach, choreographer, dancer, teacher extraordinaire, and everything that you do from the years to come. And I know that you are also inspiring the next generation as well, because occasionally I see your face in Vancouver workshops. So if there's anybody that has an opportunity to take class from you, definitely, if you're ever in Orange County, she's at Millennium. If you're ever in Vancouver, you pop up every now and then and do occasional workshops. And I think some of our past mentees have also taken your class in your workshops before as well. So on that note, thank you so much, Jessa.
I just want to thank you so much, Menina. Like, truly, you were there from the beginning, believing in me. And I will say this, it's not hard to find people that believe in you, but you have to find the ones that genuinely believe in you. And I feel like you've always been like that with me. And you've always also pushed me to like level up. So, and you created that space for me to do that. So I really appreciate you. And I feel very lucky and honored.
Why did you make me cry?
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Oh.
No, I can wrap these up and cry off camera.
Yeah, it's really nice. And the industry is hard, everyone. It's very hard. And having good people in your corner makes it easier, and it makes it an enjoyable process. And it's not everyone's going to believe in you. So it's important when you do find people that do. Yeah.
Well, I'm still here for you if you ever need advice. Amazing. All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.
And that concludes another episode of the Business of Dance podcast.
We hope you found today's conversation insightful and gained valuable knowledge.
Be sure to join us next time for more inspiring interviews with top professionals in the dance industry.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to The Business of Dance on your favorite platform and take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback is greatly appreciated.
This podcast is brought to you by the Business of Dance online mentorship program to help aspiring professional dancers create their dream dance careers.
Thank you for listening. Until next time.